Few thoughts on the new kickoff rule.
It was jarring for sure.
Jarring.
Yes.
A little video game looking. It looks a little odd, but, and I think about this a lot in my life, what was the intent? The intent is we're trying to reduce the number of concussions for these amazing athletes who put their body in harm's way. Generally in my life, if your intent is good, I'm good. I don't have to agree with every single position or policy of my favorite political candidate to vote for them. I don't have to agree with my wife on every debate we have to love her. I've worked at companies that make decisions I don't agree with. I can still like a company. People in life are too rigid. Americans complain too much. Football is amazing. Stop seeking perfection. You want perfection? Look in the mirror. Do you live up to that standard? Football's not perfect, but it's great. There's a lot of rules in football I don't like. I think it's way too punitive that you fumble out of the end zone, and in football you lose possession. I think that's ridiculous. I think college football has pass interference right, where it's a 15-yard penalty, not 58 yards because your legs get tangled up. The NFL's not perfect, but they're always willing, unlike baseball, to change things. The catch rule was screwy for several years, and they changed it. In basketball, the Olympics have the FIBA rules. The NBA has their rules. I actually prefer some of the FIBA rules. If your intent is in the right place to protect these amazing athletes who are putting their body in treacherous positions in a sport with semi-regulated levels of violence, then I'm okay with it. I remember when UFC started, and Dana White and the Fertittas came out, and they took out some of the more ugly, eye-gouging, and all the UFC fans complained, oh, why don't you put a skirt on? The sport has done nothing but explode and grow. Yes, I know there's the guys out there. Why don't you just play flag football? Oh, yeah, because nobody would watch it. I love soft, pudgy guy on the couch suddenly telling me the league went soft. This league is for men, big, strong men colliding into each other. Let's create rules that at least protect them. And by the way, I watched the kickoffs last night. 7 of 8 were returned. 7 of 8, more football, just like when they changed the PAT rule. More real football, less going to the fridge for another beer. Last year, 73% of kickoffs were touchbacks, less football. Trust the NFL. They know what they're doing. They're not perfect, but their rules committee makes changes almost always for the right reasons. It's better for the fans, or in this instance, it's healthier for the players. Listen, it looks a little odd. It'll take some getting used to. So did the 3-point line the first year it came out. And then I got used to it. Many of you romanticize about the dream team. This Olympic basketball team, deeper, more talented, more skilled, more positionless. And many of you, when the NFL brought out rules to protect the quarterback, I was at another company. This will ruin the game, and the ratings and the revenue have gone up, 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 up. I don't watch football for players getting hurt in violence. I watch it for efficiency, great offense, amazing quarterback play. And yet last year, with all the protective measures with quarterbacks, over 60 took a snap. You don't watch football for the kickoffs. Stop it. 3 out of 4 go into the end zone. How many kickoff returns for touchdowns were there in the NFL last year? Less than a half dozen? I bet you we have more this year. But I also know for a fact you'll have more kicks returned. And let's circle back to the very beginning. If the intent in life is good, I'm not seeking perfection. They're doing it for the right reasons. Take a deep breath. Change is hard for a lot of people. You're still going to watch the games.
Okay, Colin coming in hot against the common fan, that soft fan on the couch. Yeah, listen, I agree with what Colin is saying. I don't think he needs to take a dig at some of the fans, but I do get, obviously, what he's saying. I think at the end of the day, because I do wholeheartedly agree with him in terms of some of the rule changes and why we watch football. When I was younger, I definitely took a lot of pride in my team being physical and hurting people and, things of that nature. And it was all about the big hits and let's go. And that's when you're a little kid and you don't really know what you're watching. You don't understand that these are actual people, this, that, and the third. And then as you get older and you're more mature, you're like, all right, like I actually don't want to see these people getting hurt. And actually, like, some of the hits are actually like kind of painful to watch because I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I do like to watch these players be skillful. Obviously, it's still football. It's obviously going to be contact and there's going to be physicality and some violence. It just is what it is, right? And that's where the criticism, people take it to the extreme, right? Where they are like, oh, it's not even football anymore. Why don't you play flag football? And it's like, well, that's absurd. And you're now you're making it, you're taking it to the extreme, and nobody's actually doing that. I don't need to see these players get their literal heads knocked off. Like, it's not even that enjoyable to me. What's more enjoyable is actually watching the skill aspect of the game and not just the physicality aspect of the game. And you have a lot of players, both current and ex-players, talking about that this game, has gotten too far away from the skill, that it needs to be more about the skill itself. And I think Warren Sapp kind of came out and talked about that. And it matters. It really, really does. And if you watch football, go watch a game. Pick any game from 2024 and compare it to a game in like 1985. The modern era of football is insanely more exciting. And it's not even particularly close. Like, not only has the philosophy changed around offense and passing and all of that, but the rules have changed in a way that now encourage these teams to be more aggressive offensively, to be more aggressive on third down, fourth down, and whatnot, to not kick a field goal, to go for it and all of that. Like, that is exciting. That is more exciting football. It just is. And it's not to say that you just completely take away defense and only have offense, because you can go too far. We've seen basketball kind of go too far in that regard. But that's not where the NFL is at. It's kind of this very well, perfectly balanced team. And we know that because we were able to see the Kansas City Chiefs win with a defensive-led team. So it's not like defense is now just completely nothing. It's not like all these games are 45-40. That would not be fun. Watching college football at the pro level would not be fun. And Colin's idea about the pass interference rule, I get it and it makes sense, but in the pros, it would be exploited too easily. There'd be so many times that you're just willing to take that penalty, and just because it's only 15 yards rather than give up a 50-60 yard catch. And then it would just change things too much. And so it's an imperfect rule, but it's exciting, and it could be devastating when you're a fan and it's against you. Your like heart is broken because you're like, are you serious? That wasn't a pass interference. What are you doing? Or why did you do that? Whatever it may be, that's part of the experience. Suffering and getting kind of, hurt by the refs or by a bad call, whatever it may be, is part of the experience. It just is, right? Even if we could have perfect officiating, it probably would technically be less fun. If there was a way for us to know that these referees were able to call 100% perfect, accurate games, right? At the years 2090 or whatever, and it's like, we know without a doubt that every call is 100% accurate because we live in a 100% accurate world. I guarantee you the games would technically be a little less fun, because part of it is that suffering, feeling like you got worked over by the refs, and oh my God, if only they didn't throw that flag, we would have won the game. Like, that's part of it. It just is, whether you want to admit it or not. It's part of it. So I think this rule, if it's encouraged to try to make it more exciting football as well as safer football, well then yeah, I'm 100% for it. And I did see a lot of comments and people like, why are you stop trying to make a violent game safe? And it's just like, it is. It's just like, those types of comments, I'm always just like, what are we talking about here, right? It's just silly. And it is funny because I remember, I'm going to completely forget who it was, a defensive player from the Patriots back with Tom Brady in the prime and they're winning. And he was just like, there was a big, like one of the earlier finds that when we started to see the NFL change, and he was on like ESPN or whatever, and he was like, that's ridiculous, that's not the way how we play football, you should be able to make that hit and not get fined, and it's blah 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 blah. And he like slapped down his credit card on the table. He goes, I'm gonna help pay your fine because this is ridiculous. And he tried to act like it was like the biggest deal ever, and all the defense was like up in arms. What are we gonna do? and the fans were like, this is no longer football. And like what Colin just said, and yet we all still love football. We all still watch all the games. In no way am I watching a game and am I saying this experience is less than now. In no way. Football cannot be any more exciting right now. So yeah, you do have to trust what the NFL is doing and what they're trying to do. Yeah, the kickoff is weird to the eyes to look at, but a lot of things are weird to the eyes when they first kind of start, right? Like, so it's just the way how offense and defense is played now is initially weird to the eyes. Going for it on 4th and 7, you're just like, wait, that's weird. Like, why aren't you kicking it? Like, was weird initially, and now it's not. Now it's like if it's 4th and 4, and you're like, what the heck? Why are you punting the ball? Go for it. Like now it's weird for the opposite. So I think the kickoff return will be interesting. And if it doesn't work, if it ends up not doing what they want it to do, then they'll go back most likely, unless it really tremendously helps from a safety perspective, right? Unless it's clear that, wow, the safety perspective is just like, of course we can't go back. Then again, I'm all for that. I want to also be able to see these players as healthy as they can be come time playoffs. That is the goal. Nothing's more frustrating when a team is really great and they limp into the playoffs, though, because of injuries. That's a bummer. It's a bummer that the Bills were so injured going into the playoffs, that the Dolphins were so injured going into the playoffs. It was amazing that the Chiefs versus the Eagles in 22, that they were the two healthiest teams. You got to see everybody healthy go toe-to-toe. That's exciting. You want to see the healthiest players go because the margin of error among these teams is only getting smaller and smaller. And so a little injury here and there ends up making a big difference. So making sure that these players not only stay healthy throughout the season, but then also in the later years of their lives, it just matters. It's something that I care about a lot more as I look at these players with like actual respect, and want them to be treated as, legit human beings. So, but then again, I also just think that it could be exciting because I don't know about you guys, but like every kickoff, even field goal for the most part, that is the time that you get up real fast. You go to the bathroom, grab some food, whatever you're doing in your life, playing with a kid, like it's easy to look down, you look at your phone even, right? Like you switch to another game, whatever it may be, or even if you're DVRing and fast forwarding at YouTube TV, you just skip over it because like, yeah, whatever. They're at the 25, let's go. Right? Like you just skip over it. Now, at the very least this year, you are going to be watching and be like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So even at a minimum, we get some like extra heightened attention on the kickoff for this first year, which I think at the very least will be interesting to see how maybe it's exploited by other teams, see if there's any things that they can do to kind of make it even more exciting. But yeah, those are honestly just my thoughts. I guess there's been kind of an uproar with the new kickoff rule. And, it debuted last night, of course, in the Hall of Fame game. And so, yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys all think about this. Do you think it's a good rule? Do you think it should be changed back? Do you think that, that they should try to do other things from a safety perspective? Let me know what you guys think. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.